Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the strategy session on Lincoln Square. Tonight, folks, this is ordinarily a subscribers only show. And it's a place where people get a lot of our take on the inside things that are happening in this insane political moment we live in. But tonight, we are celebrating 10,000 paid subscribers to Lincoln Square. We are just absolutely honored as could be to with the commitment and the engagement of folks on Substack and beyond who have decided they're going to be a part of a new community that's going to get out there and tell you the truth, open the doors to things that are happening that you may not be seeing or hearing about in the mainstream media, and to talk candidly about this fight for democracy that we're in right now. And it is a big fight. So thank you again to everybody. I just want to express my personal gratitude. I know that Stu and Joe and the rest of the team are equally touched by your commitment to this effort. We're going to make the best damn network we can for y'all, and we're bringing you new content all the time. We're bringing new folks, new voices into this mix, because this fight for democracy is about to go through some really tough times, and we need a lot of strong new voices out there who are in this fight with us. So thanks to everybody once again, and let's get down to the show. So Joe, welcome back to the States. Stu, I want to start with both of you guys tonight. I want to start with you, Joe. The authoritarian theater going on in our streets right now is, in my view, an incredibly dark moment for this country. While it may be a distraction that Trump is trying to throw out there for the Epstein material, it is also a real expansion of government power and the police force in the hands of Donald Trump and his people. Talk to us about where you see this moment.
Look, I think we're slipping into a police state, and it's not even slipping anymore. It's right. It's crossed every line. It's not going to stop here. I think it gets to the point, Rick, what you're talking about, where we have got to grow a mass pro-democracy movement where people take action, get in the streets, make their voices loud, peacefully, but also where, I look askance at my Democratic Party. Every single member of the House and the Senate and any challenger out there should be urging every American to stand against this, to get loud, and urging people to protest. We can't keep silent. We can't be spectators. That's why I think this show and the people that you said, the 10,000 people that are now subscribing, and the hundreds of thousands that are subscribing and joining, are really so important to fighting this.
Yeah, Stuart, I mean, we've become one of the fastest growing Substacks out there. And I put this down to the fact that we're all, trying to give people a look behind the curtain of what's happening in politics, and to be as blunt and direct and as crisp and as clear as people deserve, and that they don't feel like they're getting from a lot of the mainstream media coverage.
Yeah, look, I think that we bring, the origins of the Lincoln Project brings a certain perspective to this, and Joe has added, coming from the Democratic side, tremendously. But as you and I were talking earlier, Rick, what's happening now is basically like Alex Jones's nightmare. This is what Alex Jones said was going to happen. You were going to have mass troops in the streets that were going out demanding papers from citizens. Remember when that crazy thing was 10 years ago this summer?
Jade Helm
17, I think it was, which was a military
readiness exercise or something, right?
A readiness exercise that was going to take place in Texas. And somebody had seen some map of this where Texas was listed as hostile territory for this little war game. And it became this whole thing on the right, like they were staging in Walmarts and they were building tunnels, and it was all bullshit. But now, I mean, this is everything that the right always said was dangerous. And just to recap for a second, we've rolled out the red carpet for Putin. We are cutting sweetheart deals for notorious child sex traffickers. We have the state buying or demanding and being given private assets in leading companies.
Right.
Now we have troops in the streets. That's pretty much everything that the Republican Party said it was against.
And firing a Fed governor.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, because she wasn't, because well, let's be real. She's firing a Fed governor because she's a black woman.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I mean, let's not pretend that that's not what's really going on here. But it is like we're at that inflection point where the things we warned people about for years and jumped up and down and screamed and shouted about for years, it's here.
Yeah.
I mean, it is here, folks. And as Joe said, I think one of the most important things that's happening in DC right now is people in these neighborhoods. They're going out and they're following these ICE assholes around. They're going out and they're taking pictures and sharing them of these masked thugs. They're going out and getting the license plates off these vehicles of these people snatching folks off the street. And as small as that seems in some ways, it is the beginning of a mass movement. You saw it happening in Los Angeles. You're seeing it happen in DC. And I got to tell you, folks, you are going to see it happen in Chicago. I think they've bitten off a chunk they can't chew. Joe, what do you think about that? Chicago, I think, is going to be a whole different mess for them.
I think that's true, but I also think, I mean, again, the governor, the mayor don't want them.
Right.
Of course, what do the mayors all have in common? Well, as they have the same thing as in common with the Fed governor. They're black, you know. So hey, people of color, yeah, it's not coincidence. But I do think this is also the thing I'm concerned about is I think we have to stress the peaceful part of this, because I think that Trump is out to try to provoke
absolutely
a violent response, a violent reaction, so that he can then, create the crisis, call the emergency, and then flood in wherever he wants with militarizing our streets and turning into a police state, the whole country. That's his plan. And I think, and so, yeah, I'm with you. I think Chicago's a very dangerous move, but also worry about the reaction there. And that I think it's real. That's one of the reasons where I do think it's really important for the Adam Kinzingers, the Democratic officials, any whether Republican, Independent, or Democrat, if you're a leader out there, to be present in these protests and to urge people to be part of it, but to urge them to do it peacefully, and not take the bait of getting into it with the troops that he's sending in.
Yeah, I think since the last time we talked, folks, some of the other things that I think we haven't even covered here tonight, all of us have had our experiences with John Bolton, for better or for worse. But all of us, I think, agree that when you are deliberately politically targeting a critic, that if this were, once again, if this were the counterfactual of Barack Obama going after a critic, the Republican Party would have set Washington, D.C. on fire already. They would have burned the city to the ground at this point. But they really are, he's suing everybody in sight for billions of dollars if they've defamed him. He's deploying a compliant FBI and Justice Department to persecute his political enemies. And it's, John Bolton and Miles Taylor and Chris Krebs, all these people are going to be on the list. I imagine we're going to see raids on Comey and Brennan and Hayden and Clapper and all these other folks in the coming months, and Strzok and Monaco, all these people. Where do you guys think institutional Washington is right now, other than panicking?
I'm not sure what institutional Washington is.
Point taken.
I really don't know. What is it? One of the sort of ironically painful things about Trump is that he makes you root for people who normally you couldn't stand, like Harvard. and John Bolton. We now have to be out here, like, feeling sorry for Harvard. But it's, the thing that I just go back to is the complete collapse on the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And on all fronts. I mean, in the 6 months since Trump has been president, it's a true statement. You have more European civilians who have been murdered at any 6-month period since 1945.
Mm-hmm.
And Republican Senate, they all say, "Oh, this is terrible." They don't do anything.
Right.
I mean,
well, look, I think institutional Washington, first of all, forget the Republican Party. There isn't a party anymore. It's
a cult.
It's a cult. It's Trump. They've all bent the knee and do as ordered, willingly. And I think now, out of fear, but they've enabled this, and they're not going to stop.
No.
Then you've got, I think, and that goes with Supreme Court. I mean, just down the line, the Republicans have bent the knee and will continue to do so. I think a lot of the rest of institutional Washington is, one, in denial. Some of it is in denial. They still believe. For instance, I still think the Democratic Party believes it's fighting a party. It's not fighting a party. It's fighting an autocratic movement. And the only way to defeat that movement is for the Democratic Party to forget about being a party and lead a pro-democracy movement to fight back. And you're starting to see some of that with others. But I think, and that's not Washington. In Washington, I think there's still, can we get some votes here, or can we somehow maneuver to do something within the system? And Trump has completely broken the system. The Republican Party is now a cult that does his bidding, and you cannot fight that by trying to compromise with it, work with it. And he shows no signs of letting up. In fact, it's getting worse, and definitely driving towards a police state. And so, the people that are in the fight, the governors in these states who now are seeing, the National Guard sent in and activated without them asking for it or wanting it or needing it. In fact, the crime's been going down all this time, but of course, it's Trump. One of the other things Trump and the Republicans have done is they fired reality, they fired the truth, and we're now living by their rules. No, it's time to break them, and it's time. I think for Washington, I don't think it's the fight's there anymore. It's with us, the people. It's with if you are a member of Congress, it's in your district, raising the alarm and getting people to get out there and raise their voices.
I think that's a really well put, Joe. Stuart, we've seen in the last week this massive fight down in Texas about redistricting. They're going to get their way in the end in Texas. They've got a vast supermajority. And we've seen California as the first of, I think, maybe a couple states that are pushing back on this redistricting scheme. And I've seen, I think, far too many Democrats in the last 10 days, like, oh, well, we don't want to go there because that's not the way that's not the Marcus of Queensberry rules. This is a goddamn gunfight. Do not bring a throw pillow to a gunfight.
Look, we were talking about this. The guy who ran U.S. intelligence in World War I famously said that gentlemen don't read other gentlemen's mail.
Right.
That same person,
Yardley, I believe his name was.
Stinson. Stinson. Sorry. In 1944 and 45, he was Secretary of War, as we called it then, and he was sitting in his office picking out Hiroshima and Nagasaki to blow up with nuclear weapons, which is a long way from gentlemen don't read other gentlemen's mail. So I just wish the Democrat Party could get to the picking out Hiroshima and Nagasaki part quicker,
right,
away from this. Like, we're going to go and live by these other rules. But I think, it's very positive that when you look at the governors that are doing this, they're getting positive feedback. They're getting praise. They're going up. They're winning. There's a sort of invisible primary, and Joe would know more about this than us, for the Democratic nomination for president that's going on. So, look, I think that politicians tend to do what's in their best interest in all forms. So if it's seen that by doing this, you can rise in the party in the same way,
right.
in the Republican Party, by being compliant, you rise.
Yeah.
And that has created, I think, it's another whole discussion. How is it that we ended up electing all these people?
Well, speaking of that compliance, I want to talk a little bit with both of you about J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
We've seen Trump having clear physical illnesses. We don't know what none of us are doctors here, but Trump has clearly got something wrong with him physically. The bruising, the cankles, the edema, the limping, the mental discursion, all of this stuff. And J.D. Vance has suddenly been showing up in a lot of places. The Sunday shows, walking through Union Station to visit the troops with Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller. And there's a little buzz in D.C. that, Vance is starting to mentally prepare both himself and the MAGA audience for Trump not being on the scene much longer. What do you guys think about where we're at with Vance's ambition? Because it is so obvious right now.
It's not just his ambition. I think it's been an ambition of Peter Thiel and a lot of people who supported Vance all this time, and the tech bros and the billionaires who put him there for this purpose. I mean, for exactly this purpose.
Right.
And now he's going off to Montana and sneaking in to talk to Rupert Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't. I think that this is. If you're Trump, you gotta. I think he'd have to be blind to not see what Vance is doing. But of course, maybe he is. So, but it's clear to me that no, they are preparing the groundwork to take Vance in to the #1 slot and put him in the Oval Office.
So before I would come back to you, Stuart, I want to show folks one of those rules out there. The Lincoln Project is always ahead of the curve, and we're always right. Let's play our snake ad from about 6 months ago.
Gentlemen, I am proud to announce that Senator J.D. Vance has the overwhelming support of this convention to be the next Vice President of the United States.
Who has heard the poem called The Snake? On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the vicious snake.
I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious.
She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite.
Fellow Christians, everyone is watching us when we apologize for this man. Lord, help us.
I have saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, heavens why?
That he was fundamentally divisive, arrogant.
You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die.
He's leading our political discourse to a very negative place.
Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin.
Might be America's Hitler, might be a cynical a-hole.
You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
Great.
I may have to remake that, but it really, though, I wonder what, because Trump is going to have to be dragged out of their feet first. He's going to fight this till the last dog dies. What do you guys think about, do you think Trump's going to have one of these things to try to bring JD back into line, even though Elon and Peter Thiel and the rest of these sort of broligarchs are rushing to sort of gin him up, as Joe correctly pointed out?
Well, isn't it a safe assumption that if Trump could, Trump's goal would be to have a Trump follow him, to have an Ivanka probably, and and not, this weird guy who's currently named J.D. Vance. I mean,
the artist formerly known as J.D. Vance.
Pause for a moment. So J.D. Vance he's married to a woman whose parents were not legal citizens when she was born. So that means she's a U.S. citizen. They're in America, and they're in America legally, but they weren't U.S. citizens yet. So that means, but she's a U.S. citizen because of the 14th Amendment, which he's against the 14th Amendment. So, I mean, that takes a special kind of weirdo. And he goes to Germany and endorses this far-right party that would consider his own children racially impure.
Right.
A weird guy. I mean, that's beyond sort of.
It's about power. That's what
sure.
makes it weird about the power, which is why he's the snake that Trump let in. I mean, the spot is exactly hit the nail right on the head, and it's clear that as Trump look, we've said this before. He's driving hard to keep the base happy. It's alligator Alcatraz. More red meat for the base. He's driving independents and others away. Vance and I'm sure the House and Senate have to fear what's going to come in 2026. And Vance is clearly prepping for the moment in the hopes that I think that, and it'll be interesting because if Trump doesn't falter physically, I do not put it past these guys to find some other way to get rid of him.
And that's one of the things I think that was really telling is Elon goes from saying, I'm going to start a third party, and Trump is in the Epstein files, to saying, nah, never mind on the third party. I'm going to back J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
I think that is I'm sure Thiel went to him and said, hey, bud, calm this down.
I mean, look, one thing we know about loyalty is that it never works when it's one way.
Right.
It has to be mutual for it to be true loyalty. And Trump is not loyal to anyone. It's just all transactional.
100%.
I mean, if you and I, Rick, went out and said, we were wrong about Trump. He's proven us wrong. He's really turned out to be a great president. It would be like 2 or 3 weeks before they would be offering us millions of dollars.
Of course.
Pack.
Of course.
You can hear less.
100%.
What we said.
100%. They've seen the light.
And, J.D. Vance is a uniquely transactional guy. When he was trying to be accepted by East Coast liberals, he wrote this book where he kind of created this myth about himself. I mean, a suburban kid who was on the golf team became kind of like this Appalachian guy. I mean, it's sort of so weird. And then he married this corporate lawyer. He was in the international investment business with a lot of investments in China.
Private equity bro.
Went out to, was a Peter Thiel acolyte. And, this isn't said enough. I mean, Joe's really smart to bring it up. Peter Thiel bet on 2 people for the Senate. Blake Masters, who kind of last seen making snuff films with guns in the Arizona desert. and J.D. Vance. Okay, so 1 out of 2. And J.D. Vance, you have to admit, he has not a bad chance to be president of the United States.
No, it's a meaningful possibility.
Also, I mean, he got JD there, but then he was instrumental in getting Trump to pick JD as VP. I mean, he really put a lot of money on the line and said, and pushed JD to VP.
Oh, yeah.
It was all part of his strategy, I think. And we all know what he wants. I mean, he wants the technocrats to rule the world, not just the United States. I mean, it's a very different view. Democracy is not part of that vision.
Yeah, democracy is not. I'm writing a new book right now, and going into that Peter Thiel rabbit hole, the Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel post-democracy rabbit hole. These guys aren't kidding about this. They're not just like using it as like dorm room bullshitting. They really mean to establish a world where they are a new royalty, a new monarchy in this country, and the rest of us, not so much. Well, folks, listen, I want to thank everybody so much for joining us tonight. This is a big night where we're celebrating our growth on Substack. We're one of the fastest growing Substacks out there, past a big milestone of subscribers. We have hundreds of thousands of free subscribers and just past 10,000 paid subscribers, which is a huge number for Substack. Want to thank everybody sincerely for this. We've got a show like this every Tuesday night, and we dive deep into what's happening. Stuart has got a hard out tonight. I have a hard out tonight, so we're going to pop off the screen here. Do me a favor, everybody. Go over to Substack, subscribe. If it's free, great. If you want to go over and subscribe as a paid subscriber, we would be honored. Go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'd be terrific too. Thanks to everybody for watching. I will not be with you next week as host, but the show will be here. And look forward to seeing you guys again very soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Rick. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Stu.